Hey there, folks. Bob Yeager here, and welcome to the 10-Day Preparedness Challenge. This is delivered by Waypoint Survival and Prepping 101. I'm Bob Yeager, and my buddy James Bender. We both do the newsletter together. We do a lot of things together. This was originally taken from the original Prepping 101 course. I've been teaching that course every year for almost 25 years. And in 2019, I decided to do an online version of the course. And let's just say there was predictions made within that course about what was coming within the next few months of that, and we all know what happened in 2020. What I found throughout the course was that we had this easily compartmentalized 10-day e-course. And some of you may have started receiving that, older newsletter members. What I can honestly say is we weren't prepared for all of you guys to sign up, ironically, so rapidly when we first launched the newsletter. So I didn't get to finish the 10-day e-course. So what I've done is, instead of giving you 10 daily emails, I compartmentalized it into a 70-page PDF file that you can download below this video. And the reason I created it is because, for one, it's not filled with fluff and a bunch of stories and case studies and things like that. It's an actionable step-by-step cheat sheet and checklist that tells you everything you need to do in a 10-day period. Now, that doesn't have to be 10 consecutive days. I want to make that very clear. It was designed to do it that way if you have the energy, resources, and time to do it over a 10-day period. But do it as you can. What I suggest you do is read through the PDF first, completely, all the way through, including the Appendix A and Appendix B, because those are your assessments, and figure out, along the way, I'd print it up and put it into a 3-ring binder. Go to Staples and have it printed up and put it into a 3-ring binder. What I suggest you do is, as you're going through it, say, oh, you know what, I could do this in a day because time and budget would allow me to do this. Okay. Now, just so you know, what I've created here isn't an expensive route to preparedness. To me, this is the basic. Everybody should have this. I don't care what you're prepping for. Natural disasters, winter weather, loss of a job, whatever it may be. This is the basic. Everybody should have this in place. Okay. Now there's some challenging parts to it. Let me go over that real quick. There's a part where I talk about finances, and that part usually scares people away from the process. They're like, how am I supposed to have 3 to 6 months of money set aside when I can't even make my electric bill next month? Folks, I've been there. I'm going to tell you a little story because you don't know me very well. I know most of you know James from Waypoint Survival. You're familiar with his content and things. But let me tell you a story about myself. Okay, I grew up in Pittsburgh, PA, and my family were cemetery caretakers for nearly 100 years. When my great-grandfather came over from Germany, he started these cemeteries for 12 Russian Jews that he brought back with him. So we were dedicated for our family for 100 years to take care of these cemeteries. Okay. Now, keep in mind, we lived in the cemetery caretaker home. Our front yards and backyards were cemetery property, and we did not get paid to do the work. It was like our daily yard work to us. We dug graves, we set tombstones, we mowed the lawns and plowed the driveways and put pavement down, all kinds of different things. And we were never paid for our labor. In exchange for us living in the home rent-free, we did all the work. Okay, so my parents didn't take summer vacations when I was a kid. We were not rich. My dad had a landscaping job on top of that. And when I was a kid, he made about $250 a week. We were big on growing big gardens, hunting, trapping, fishing, and raising some like chickens, livestock, stuff like that. We were putting food up for long winters. And my dad's philosophy was there's always a long winter coming. No matter if it's the weather, financial challenges, health and well-being, there will always be a long winter in your life at some point. So you should always be prepared for that. We weren't preppers. We were modern-day homesteaders of sorts. Okay. When I turned 18 or 17, I moved away from home. I went to college. I went to 3 universities. I got 2 master's degrees. And when I turned 18, I was diagnosed with terminal cancer. Those treatments went on for about 8 years. And so this was in 1996. I ran I started and ran 3 businesses. I played for the Pittsburgh Symphony Orchestra. I worked at a robotics company. I worked at a telemarketing firm. I got really good at sales, marketing, copywriting, things like that. I worked for the Hillman Foundation. Henry Hillman was Andrew Carnegie's cousin. He was a business mentor of mine in Pittsburgh. And I spent every dime I had on food, a roof over my head, and medical. Over the course of 8 years, I spent $3.6 million saving my own life. Now you might be like, well, you're rich, Bob. No, every dime I had, it was gone. So the year I got married, I was about 27 years old, going on 27 years old. I had nothing. I had just had knee replacement surgeries done. I had bolts in my knees. I broke my back, just recovered from cancer, and I was starting a new life with a new family. And that was 20 years ago. I've been through the ups and downs. I understand. I lived in my truck for 2 years while I was taking care of my health, so I didn't have to pay a mortgage or rent, and I could put all my resources towards saving my own life. I get it. When I got married, we struggled. It was hard to pay the heating bill, so I punched a hole in my chimney and installed a big wood-burning unit that I got on loan at first and then bought over time. I started hunting again and growing food again and canning again and basically preparing for what life throws at you. I didn't ask for any handouts. I didn't go on food stamps. I didn't go on welfare. Hell, I wasn't eligible for any of those things. I did what it took. I remember one winter I was walking on a cane. I had just had knee surgery done. My wife was pregnant, and I knew the baby was on the way right around Christmas time. And it was a bad winter in Pennsylvania, and I went out in the woods and I cut and split 8 cords of firewood by hand. And I wheeled it all back in a wheelbarrow, about 6 acres, because I didn't have any conveyance. So one wheelbarrow load at the time, and I filled our front porch with firewood from floor to ceiling, end to end. And I kept my family warm and fed over the wintertime. And I swore to myself at that point I would never allow that to happen again. And every year, ever since then, we've done better and better. I own a little farm in western Pennsylvania. We provide most of our own food for ourselves. And we've taken the time to get back to good. Now, keep in mind, I've spent the past 10 years investing in the Woodcraft League of America, my publishing company, and many other things, and I spent my life savings on those things. So I'm not this mega rich guy or anything. I've had to deal with a lot of financial challenges over the years, but the reason I work on those projects is because they're legacy projects I know that will help society be better and more self-reliant and help our children grow into strong, independent people that can fend for themselves. So when I wrote this action guide for you, I said I could do this over a 10-day period. But I know most people are going to have to take their time. But each part of the action guide is created so you can do it in a day, 30 to 60 minutes. If you have to do a little shopping and stuff, it might take you a little bit longer. I'm pretty quick at that stuff, but it might take you a little bit longer. I would suggest that you use resources around you as much as possible instead of like going on Amazon and things like that. Here's what you won't find in the PDF. There's no sales promotion. There's no product promotion. There's no Amazon links. There's none of those things. You're going to have to take the time to go out and find those resources for yourself. That's part of preparedness, being self-reliant and being resourceful. This is where the rubber meets the road with preparedness. I have a few slides to cover here with you, but the rubber meets the road in resourcefulness, not resources. Okay? A lot of people say, well, I don't have enough money. I don't have enough knowledge or skills or whatever. Well, knowledge and skills can be learned and money can be earned. I couldn't tell you how many times over the years I worked with like 16 clients at a time, plus I was running my business and I had a job, just to make sure that we had the resources or the money that we needed to live a happy, healthy, and abundant life. You can't be afraid of the side hustle. You can't be afraid of sifting through your garage and finding those tools and things that you don't use, you haven't touched in years, that you know other people could use and you can put on Facebook Marketplace or have a yard sale. Doing DoorDash or Grubhub or anything like that, Uber. Just to make some extra cash. Heck, there's a local gas station near me. It's a Sheetz. We have a lot of those in Pennsylvania, like every 3 miles or so, it seems. They're paying $17 an hour, $20 an hour if you work overnight. You know what I mean? There's availability out there. And you might be like, I work all day. I just don't have the energy for it. Well, that's where health and fitness come in. I recently joined a gym because my cholesterol and blood pressure was a little bit high. I was concerned about that. My testosterone levels were low. I changed my diet to a cleaner diet, and I started going to the gym 4 days a week. And I go in the middle of the night, folks. I stay up till 4 o'clock in the morning. I sleep for 4 hours, and I get up around 8 or 8:30. I've always been this way. I go at 3 o'clock in the morning to the gym. There's nobody there. I go to a 24-hour gym. I let myself in. I do my workout for 40 minutes, and I go home. It's important for us to take care of ourselves. And I know a lot of us have physical limitations, health limitations, financial limitations. You can change that for yourself. And the more prepared that you get, the more self-reliant that you get, and the more resourceful you get, you find that resources and things present themselves. So, through this challenge, I want to cover some things that aren't necessarily covered in the action guide. The current reality is natural disasters are increasing in frequency and severity across the United States. Obviously, economic uncertainty and supply chain disruptions affect everyone. I'm sure it's affected you. And now with gold being more valuable than U.S. Treasuries, meaning gold has surpassed how many U.S. Treasuries are out there. That means countries are starting to look at the dollar as not so much the reserve currency. I'm sure you've seen those things in the news, which devalues our dollars a bit. Emergency services are overwhelmed. It's not maybe, they are. And when a disaster and emergency comes through, there's a good chance they're not going to be available when you need them. Your family safety depends on your ability to be self-reliant for at least 72 hours, and that's at minimum. The question isn't if an emergency will happen, it's when and will you be ready. So this guide is going to help you get there. Now, you could do it over weeks and months. I say challenge yourself. It's a challenge. Try to do it over 10 days if you have the ability to do so. If not, at least stick with it. Set reminders for yourself to keep at it, okay? The problem is most people aren't ready. Look at these statistics here. 60% of people don't have 3 days of food and water stored. I got news for you. Your local grocery store only has about 3 days of available food for your entire community before they have to restock. I'm sure you saw this during the lockdowns in 2020. You go to the grocery store and almost everything was gone. That's because unprepared people went out and panicked, and they emptied the grocery stores of the necessities. 75% of people have no emergency communication plan. 40% couldn't survive 72 hours without power. Heck, a couple of years ago in the wintertime, it was around Thanksgiving, our power went out for almost 2 weeks. We were the only house in the neighborhood that had power because of our generator and because of things that we had done over the years. But it was still hard, right? We have a well. It runs on electricity. It's the middle of winter. It froze up. We had to have the whole thing replaced afterwards. That checked us to say, okay, we got to get that on backup power, right? So no matter how much you think you're prepared, even those of us that have been doing this for a long, long time are never as prepared as we think we are. The reality check is most families are completely unprepared for even minor emergencies. Not just in the resources they have, the availability and access to things they have, but in their mindset, their mental preparedness. I don't freak out over emergencies. I take a moment, I calm myself, I think through the problem, and I think, is there a solution? If the answer is yes, then I don't worry about it. I just continue on. If the answer is no, I'm just kind of like, well, that's just the way it is. I'm going to have to move on and figure things out. You have to be the one in your family that gets calm during those emergencies to allow everyone else to see calmness. That's very important. People assume help will come, but don't plan for delays. A couple years ago, it's really sad. My wife's grandmother, my mother-in-law, we built her house on our property, and her grandmother lived there too. She diabetic. She had failing systems and everything. She was on dialysis every week, 3 days a week. And it was wintertime. She felt faint, and she fell down, and she broke her ankle, really broke it. It was bleeding. She broke it. and I called emergency services. While that was happening, my daughter and I were wrapping her in wool blankets and putting a Mylar blanket underneath her to keep her warm because she was on the ground and we couldn't move her. We stabilized her leg, and when the police showed up, it was another almost 8-9 minutes before the ambulance showed up after that. We live out in the middle of nowhere. Luckily, even with the snow and the rain we were having at the time, they were able to stabilize her, get it out of there, and she had surgery, which was successful on her leg, but she died a week later. We weren't prepared for losing her like that, but we were prepared for a lot of the important things. We had things at the ready to take care of her when necessary. We knew what to do because we're all trained medically on what to do to stabilize her until the help could come, right? And after the fact, the life insurance, which wasn't much, but having the living trust in place, knowing who the benefactors were of that trust, having inheritance tax money on standby for those kind of things, and knowing the process. Because I'll tell you, my wife and my mother-in-law, they were emotionally distraught and they didn't need all the extra undue stress. I was there calm, cool, collected, and helped them through the whole thing. And within a matter of weeks, everything was taken care of. Was it hard? Yes, of course it was. And nobody wants that to happen in their lives. But having yourself mentally prepared, financially prepared, documents on the ready, everything you could possibly need. I'll tell you how, if we didn't live here at the time, and my mother-in-law had to take care of that of herself, if she just went by doing the math the way they want the math on the forms for the inheritance tax, she would have been out about $45,000. She likely would have lost her house. Because I've done this before and I've learned these things and I was prepared for it, I found out that she wasn't doing the math properly, and it was actually only $10,000 in inheritance tax. Still a lot, but we prepared for that. We knew that was going to come. Panic buying during crisis leaves shelves empty. I don't want you to be one of those people that panic buy. Because when you're panic buying, your mind's in this fight or flight scenario. If you're in that scenario, how could you possibly help the other people around you? And that includes your community. You know, a lot of preppers say to me, people better stay away from my house when shit hits the fan. And I'm like, really? I'm prepared for my neighbors, my closest neighbors, to be able to come here. We work together, even during non-emergencies, to help one another. We trade and barter items with each other. Everybody around me grows something different, and we trade and we take care of it. I just went up and got my neighbor 40 chickens to add to his flock, and he gives me eggs. I took my truck and went and got them, me and my son, up to Amish country and got them for him and brought them back. And we help with some feed and stuff. We take care of them when they're away. My neighbor on the other side of me, he has bigger equipment than I do, and he helps me take down trees and process firewood and things like that. And I help them with things that they need as well. The people across the street from me were great to my son when he was in the Scouts. They helped him with his fundraising and things like that. And I go over and help them with whatever they need. There's people right up the street from me. I take care of their yard for them. And in exchange, they gave me their $20,000 tractor and an $8,000 Jeep. Things they didn't need, they didn't know how to maintain or take care of. And in exchange, about once or twice a month, I go up and mow their lawn for them and help them prune some trees. Because they're my friends, they're my neighbors, and I want to take care of them. And I help them through things that they don't understand financially and stuff like that. A lack of skills makes people dependent on others. I have found that if I strengthen the skills and knowledge of the people around me without freaking them out and teach them to have a better way of life during non-emergencies, when we all need each other during the emergency, everybody's calm and collected. So when you think about turning people away during emergencies, I want you to think again. Humans have lived in tribes for a long time. That's why the Woodcraft League of America has lodges and tribes. We come together as a community, and that's something very important. Next is, if you really want real preparedness, a systematic tested approach that actually works, I put it into this guide for you. I swear to you, it's been tested for 25 years. I know it works. All right. Unlike generic preparedness advice, this challenge provides specific, actionable steps with measurable results. There's a daily structure to it, 30 to 60 minutes per day with clear morning prep, core tasks, and an evening review. Now, like I said, you might do this over weeks. You might do it in 10 days consecutively. That's up to you. It's hands-on learning. You're actually learning hands-on with your children, with neighbors, whoever it may be you want to get involved with this. And you say, well, I don't really know my neighbors. Get to know your neighbors, folks. Get to know your neighbors. Don't ask for things from them. See what value you can contribute to them, even if it's just friendship. But the hands-on learning segment, it builds actual systems, practice real skills, test everything before you need it. So there's actionable steps within here. As you're preparing, you're practicing at the same time. Don't wait until you need it to actually learn how to use the things that you have. It's repeatable cycles. Each cycle builds deeper skills and more comprehensive preparedness. This is actually meant to be done over and over and over again. It's not a one-time shot. You keep on doing it over and over and over again, and it builds deeper on those skills. It's family focused. It's age-appropriate activities that involve everyone in the household. You get to see measurable results, clear completion criteria and progress tracking for every system. And the appendix areas, A and B, help you track that even further. It's not complicated spreadsheets and everything. It's just mostly checklists and things, okay? And it's community building. It gets you to connect with your neighbors and build mutual aid networks for true resilience. I'll tell you, over the years, the times that we were alone in any struggles that we had were some of the tumultuous times that we had. We didn't have a support system. And over the years, as I grew a network and I started teaching other people the things that I know and lending my skills to other people, when crisis did happen, and we'll just say the 2020 crisis, because there's been other ones over the years, everybody came together and nobody stressed out. Everybody's like, well, let's get some things done that we need to get done, and let's take care of one another, right? How this challenge works is it's a daily structure, 30 to 60 minutes. Morning prep is about 5 to 10 minutes. There's core tasks that take 20 to 40 minutes. And that's hands-on building and testing. 10 to 15 minutes of family integration, involve everyone, practice together, and evening review 5 to 10 minutes. That's check your progress and plan for the next day. So it's 4 progressive phases. Phase 1 is foundation, assessment and planning, water security systems, food storage basics, essential skills practice. Phase 2 is the core systems. That's days 4 to 6. Communication networks, shelter and security, medical preparedness, system integration. Phase 3 is advanced skills, days 7 to 9, security and self-defense, financial resilience, community networking, leadership development. And phase 4 is integration, day 10. Comprehensive testing, system refinement, continuous improvement, and next cycle planning. It may seem cold in the way that I wrote this. It's just boom, 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 boom. Checklist, do this, here's your core task. But sometimes you have to compartmentalize skill sets and document the process through and take emotion out of the equation. Okay? It's really important that you treat this as you're challenging yourself and your abilities, and sometimes you will fail. Sometimes you will not have the resources. Sometimes you will have to learn new skills. That's okay. What's really neat is if you're watching this video and you're downloading this guide, you have access to a system that provides you with all the knowledge that ever existed in human history. It's called the internet. If you're not self-educating and increasing your own skill sets and approaching this in a fun and challenging way instead of doom and gloom prepping, you're missing the boat here, folks. Your 10-day journey is going to be the assessment foundation, water security, food security, communication, shelter and security, medical and first aid, advanced security, financial preparedness, community building, testing, and integration. Are you going to get this all done in 10 days? Probably not. Are you going to know how to do everything along the way? Probably not. Can you figure it out? Yep. If you've figured out how to use email and go watch YouTube videos and watch this video and all these different things, you can figure this stuff out. It's not rocket science, really. And I should know, I have a master's in mechanical engineering and chemical engineering, which is rocket science, okay? So what you'll achieve, I'm not joking about it, it's true. What you'll achieve is measurable outcomes. 14 days of water storage with multiple purification methods, 30 days of emergency food supply with rotation system, complete communication network with 3 backup methods, comprehensive first aid kit with proven skills, $500 to $1,000 emergency fund and barter supplies, and active mutual aid network with 5+ neighbors if you have that ability. All of these things have to do with, I understand limitations, try to surpass those limitations. You'll most importantly gain skills and confidence, situational awareness and threat assessment abilities, hands-on skills for water purification, food preservation and repair, leadership abilities, peace of mind, continuous improvement, teaching ability. I have a firm belief that it's not just for us to learn how to be more prepared, it's for us to pass that on. You know, the old adage, give a man a fish, feed him for a day, teach a man a fish, feed him for life. Well, I'll add to that. Teach a man to teach his children to fish, and you'll end world hunger. Knowledge is not for us to keep to ourselves. We're supposed to share with other people. And that's why we do the newsletter. That's why James does the YouTube channel. I've had 140 YouTube channels since 2006, teaching skills in many different areas and many different industries, because I just believe that people should teach. This works when other methods fail. I'm going to tell you why. Other ones fail because the information overload without clear action steps. Generic advice that doesn't fit your situation. There's no customization ability. No accountability or progress tracking. Overwhelming scope that leads to paralysis. That happens a lot. No testing of systems before emergency. This works because you have specific daily tasks with exact measurements, customizable approach that adapts to your needs and your family's needs and your community's needs. Daily check-ins with measurable progress, manageable 30 to 60 minute per day commitment, and comprehensive testing ensures everything works. This is proven results. After 25 years of teaching preparedness, I've seen what works and what doesn't, and this systematic approach gets real results because it focuses on building actual capabilities rather just accumulating a bunch of supplies and gadgets and stuff. Okay? So if you're ready to begin, here's the thing. Download the complete guide. It's absolutely free. I created it for you. There's no sales promotion here. There's nothing for sale here. Okay? Schedule your start date and choose a 10-day period when you can commit 30 to 60 minutes a day. Gather basic supplies, review day 1 requirements, and get initial assessment materials. Involve your family. Explain the challenge. Get everyone on board. I know a lot of people are like, oh, my family's not on board with prepping. It's not about prepping. It's about having things in place that human beings need to have a healthy, happy, abundant life. So when emergencies do happen, because they do, you're always prepared for it and people don't have to suffer through it. What you need to start is the time commitment, 30 to 60 minutes a day, consecutive days. Initial investment, I say $100 to $300 for basic supplies. And there's a lot of those basic supplies you probably already have in your home, and you could spread that out over time. Space requirements, small storage area for water containers and supplies. Get all your family, all ages. You know, when I started the Woodcraft League, I went with the old Seton model of ages 4 to 94. You know, both of my kids actually are directors within the Woodcraft League. My son started being a director within the league as I started developing it when he was 11 years old. I always get the kids involved. Mindset, commitment to learning and protecting your family. And most importantly, have fun. This isn't meant that you're not in the midst of something that's oh, I got to get this done now because the world's coming to an end tomorrow. No. Gamify it. Have fun. Reward your children for getting involved. Have a good time. Don't be so drill sergeant-like with it. Be a person, a tribe leader. Start your journey. Don't wait for the next emergency to wish you were prepared. People say, when should I start prepping things? I don't know, 10 years ago? Get started now. Download the complete 10-day guide at the link below. Your family safety is worth 10 days of focused effort. Make the commitment today. And I really hope that this helps you and that you find the value in it that I know that you should. Take care.